But right now, we've got Jordan Ledwein, and why do salespeople fail, and what can AI do about it? Jordan, take it away.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to talking about this, and either you're stuck around and while you're still here, or you're just waiting for Chris McDonald to come on in 30 minutes. And if that's the case, well, thanks for hanging out with us while we're talking about this. So I'm going to talk about why do salespeople fail, and I can right away think of a few reasons why I may have failed in the past. I'm sure some of you can as well. But the real focus for today is how can we use artificial intelligence or AI to mitigate these problems or overcome these challenges that we see in sales. So for those of you who are Sandler clients or who have been through Sandler's foundations, the first module that we start with in a boot camp is called Why Have a System? And so I'm going to expand on that today, and I'm going to talk about why have a customer-focused and more specifically an AI-powered system, right? So a customer-focused system is something that Sandler has always focused on. Mike did a great talk at HubSpot Inbound about that topic exactly. So I'm not going to touch too much on that today. I know really what I want to drive home is what is an AI-powered system when it comes to selling and how can we use it? So just a quick background on me. So again, my name is Jordan Ledwein. I'm a Sandler trainer based here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And believe it or not, I actually went through my first Foundations boot camp 8 years ago. I just was moving the other day and I found my bronze certification plaque from 2015. So I've been in and out of the network for 8 years. I'm what they call a Sandler spawn, meaning I'm a son of a Sandler trainer actually here in Charlotte. And over the last year, my focus within Sandler has really shifted to focus on this technology that's coming out every day, and more specifically on the AI and automation that we're seeing just totally revolutionize every industry that we see. And the goal that I'm trying to get to, and on LinkedIn, I created this newsletter called the AI Sales Guy. I created this back in January, and I was trying to figure out how do I use AI and automation within our own business to make us more productive, to make us more efficient, to really scale in a way that's never been possible before without this technology. And I realized every company has this same potential to use these tools and this technology to do the same thing. So I wanted to develop a newsletter and content and just share this information to say, how can you use this in a practical way in your business, in your sales process, or whatever that may be. So my real goal is to really combine a proven sales methodology like Sandler and this cutting edge technology like AI and automation and so on and so forth to really help companies and salespeople sell smarter than ever possible before and see growth that is something that is unprecedented. So where I'm going to start is, why do salespeople fail? And I don't like the word failure either. I think it's only a failure if you don't learn from it. But if you can start to put in chat, open up your chat and say some reasons that you've seen salespeople fail, maybe some reasons that you even failed in the past. I know I could fill the chat for a little while with reasons why I may have failed in the past, but I want to start there. And that's what we're going to look at is, what are the reasons that this happens? Then we're going to quickly touch on, what is the customer-focused selling system? What does that mean? What does that look like? And then again, the meat of the presentation today is going to be focused on the AI-powered selling process, probably the reason you're here in the first place, right? So that's the agenda. I've given this presentation in 30 minutes. I've done it in an hour and a half. I'll try and stick to 30 minutes for Chris's sake today. But let's dive in. So why do salespeople fail? I'm pulling up the chat here. I see lack of confidence, happy ears, another lack of confidence, good one. More focused on what to say than what to ask, good. Not following a process. I mean, we could list reasons all day long why salespeople fail, right? But I want to look at a very specific example and situation that I've seen. So 88% of salespeople say that personal connections are the most important part of their job. Would we agree with that? Personal connections are probably the key aspect of what drives sales. Well, despite this fact, only a third of the average salesperson's time is spent building relationships. Well, wait a second. 9 out of 10 say it's the most important part of their job, but we only spend a third of our time doing it. Does that just mean they're not focused or lazy? Well, I don't think that's what's happening, and I'll explain why. So if we dive into this a little bit deeper and say, okay, what does this break down to? Well, Salesforce did a study, and I believe this was their State of Sales report for 2023. And they looked at, how does the average sales rep spend their time on a daily basis, a weekly basis, whatever that might look like. And they said 28% of the time for the average sales rep is spent selling. And when they say selling, they mean 3 things: in-person meetings, virtual meetings, or prospecting to set those meetings. Now, obviously, you do a lot more as a salesperson than those three things. And today, more so than ever, there are so many non-selling activities that are required for the sales function to actually be possible that don't necessarily fit into one of those three categories of in-person meetings, virtual meetings, or prospecting. Right? So what do these look like? Well, this could be prioritizing leads. It could be researching prospects. It could be preparation and planning, generating quotes, manually entering customer information into a CRM or Excel, right? Every salesperson's favorite thing to do. Administrative tasks. So there's a lot that salespeople have to keep up with, and same with sales leaders, to where they can't focus as much time as they want to on selling. And in the past, Sandler has always focused on this selling piece. How do we help decrease the sales cycle length? How do we spend less time on opportunities that aren't good fit for us and really focus our time on opportunities that have a higher likelihood of closing or doing business with us? But that's only a third of our time. As a salesperson, there's a lot of other things that need to be done for us to be able to fill our job or complete all the requirements that need to be done. And because of this, 98% of sellers wish they had superpowers to help them accomplish their day-to-day duties. Now, Sandler's always focused on the selling, and because of the way that the world is changing, I believe that we're able to now use AI to act as a sales team's superpower. So before I get too deep into this, I'll talk about the customer focus system, and this has already been set up by Dave and others on this summit, so I'm not going to spend too much time here, but Sandler always wants to put the customer in the middle of our selling methodology, right? And we know that today's buyer's journey starts with engagement, and then it goes to consideration, where they're considering different options, and then they make a decision on which solution or which company is the right fit for them, and then they hopefully become an advocate for that solution. And so Sandler has built their methodology and our methodology around this customer-focused approach, to where when they're engaging, we're engaging and building trust. When they're considering, we're qualifying the opportunity. And when they're making a decision, we're closing the sale, right? And these are the pieces that we all know and love in Sandler. I know that a lot of us aren't going to get rid of the submarine, and I'm not suggesting you will. We're still going to have graphics around here as well. But this is to modernize what's happening and align it with the modern buyer's journey, right? So we have bonding and rapport communication and upfront contracts to build the trust. And then in qualifying, we walk through what are the pain points, what's their investment criteria, what is their decision-making process. And then when it comes to closing the sale, we look at, okay, let's present the solution and do a post-sale to make sure they can become an advocate for our company. And this is the customer-focused selling system, and this is the Sandler selling system. So again, today's not a commercial for Sandler, so I just wanted to touch on that really quickly. And now I want to expand on it with the AI-powered selling process. And I wanted to give myself the majority of time to get through this, so thankfully I think I'm on pace there. But there's a lot of directions that we can go with this. But before we get too far, I want to talk about, okay, well, what is AI? And I don't have time to really dive that deep into it. I could spend a full hour on just explaining what is AI in the first place, but I want to just lay the groundwork. It's not this, okay? It's not Terminator. Don't think of the sci-fi movies that you may have seen. We're not talking about cyborgs taking over the world. What we're really talking about is flipping the script and treating technology like a teammate. And this is different than how we've looked at it in the past potentially, but it's the same thing that we've done with computers. In the same sense, we can do it with AI, right? So there's different stages of sales tech maturity that I want to walk through and help you understand where is your company, or what is the next step for your company to continue on this path. So this is all from a Gartner study from 2023. So starting with number one, we have stage one, simple automation. Okay, so we have basic automation tools and AI that can assist with simple activities, but the benefits are really going to depend on seller adoption. This goes back to the Q&A earlier when someone said, hey, I'm a sales rep, the sales leadership hasn't started to use much AI. How can I start to influence it? This is how. You can start to influence it by starting to use artificial intelligence or automation yourself. Stage two is assisted selling, where it's a step past this, where AI-assisted automation tools are being used to improve the productivity of salespeople, and technology is actually integrated into the sales process. So I want to stop before I keep going too far. I would say over 80% of companies, if not higher, are in one of these two stages or earlier, to where they're in stage 0 and still looking at stage 1 or 2, right? And stage 0 is still using Excel spreadsheets and doing everything manually, which is okay. There's a lot of companies still there trying to figure out, where do I go? Where do I start? But most companies are sitting in stage 1 and stage 2, trying to figure out, how do I start to use this information and this technology to really enhance our process and our company? When we get to stage 3, now we get to automated selling, where technology is becoming a full part of our sales team, and it's actually automating most of the sales activity, and it's really acting as a highly efficient virtual assistant. And this is, I think, the goal for a lot of companies. And then I'm going to talk about stage 4. Stage 4 is not for every company. I think it's more for products that are more of a commodity, where there's no value selling occurring, but it's autonomous selling, where technology can completely automate the sales process, right? So think about things like Amazon or different online stores, where you don't need a sales rep to walk you through the different nuances and the different solutions or things like that, where you can just have people acting as strategic overseers of the technology, and the technology is handling a lot of the work. So my question for you is, what stage are you in? And if you want to put that in the chat, I'd love to kind of get some opinions, just so we can kind of start to see where are people. And if you're in stage 0, that's okay too. A lot of people are still trying to figure out, where do I even begin? But they know that doing everything manually and doing everything in Excel is not the best way to do things, especially with the tools that we have at our disposal. So that's kind of the backdrop for what is AI? How do we start with this? I want to get into, what are the actual use cases for selling with AI? And I'm going to talk about some specific tools and things that we've already mentioned today. And I don't want to talk about those tools specifically, but more use them as a concept and a way to fulfill some of these use cases. It doesn't matter what tool you use. It only matters if you use the tool, right? So this was said earlier, technology is a great thing, but technology doesn't work if you don't use it. The key to technology is adoption. And if your sellers don't adopt it, it will never work how you want it to work. You'll never get the visibility or the reporting or the effectiveness from the tool. Okay, see a lot of stage 1s, good, good. Some stage 2s, some stage 0s, good. So use cases for selling with AI. Before we start, we want to figure out, what are successful organizations going to do? Well, they're going to ruthlessly prioritize use cases that show immediate impact and that salespeople will welcome. Well, why is this important? Because if salespeople don't welcome it and it becomes more burdensome or makes their job harder, the adoption goes down, the effectiveness goes down. We don't actually see the results that we're hoping for from that tool or that technology. So starting at the beginning, and again, this is from a Gartner study where they identified what are the top 4 use cases for selling with AI. And they start with seller role simplification. Okay, so what is that? It's making the role of the salesperson easier, not harder. Let's simplify and streamline what a salesperson has to do, rather than make this more difficult. Then we have use case number 2, which is generative value messaging, which we'll get into a little bit. Then we have prospecting. Now, I know every salesperson is very sad that prospecting can be potentially done with AI or automation. I know it's their favorite thing to do. I'll touch on that a little bit, but Emily already did a great job covering prospecting. I was even taking notes, and I got a few things to go try out. So I won't spend too much time there, but I'll give you some ideas to think about as you look at potentially using technology in your prospecting process. And then last but not least, I'm going to talk about solution design and deal closing, right? Arguably the most important thing that we do as a sales rep is close deals. And Dave talked about earlier how a lot of AI that's being used in selling is being used at the front of the funnel. Well, that's maybe the easiest way to apply it with ChatGPT and some of these other tools that are at our fingertips. But there is now tools and software that can be used all the way through the pipeline or all the way through the sales process to help with each step. So starting at the beginning, seller role simplification. Now, HubSpot had their annual sales conference called Inbound, and their CEO, Yemini, did a great presentation talking about the future of sales, and she shared this information I'm going to share with you. And she talked about changing the formula for sales success. And what does that really mean? Well, if we look at the old sales formula, it looks something like this, where you have more reps with more tools, with more activities, and that should hopefully lead to more sales, right? You increase the input, the output should also increase. It's basic math, as long as it's multiplication, not division. But have we heard of the law of diminishing returns before? That same practice or concept applies here as well. When we put more tools and more activities on sales reps that are already bogged down, already struggling to learn the tech stack that they have to work with, it doesn't lead to more sales. It actually leads to much less efficiency from your salespeople. And this is causing organizations to not get the results that they're expecting from their sales team. So what do we do about this is the question. And this is where the new sales formula comes into play. Well, what does the new sales formula look like? Well, it starts with efficient reps with connected tools who are focused on the right activities, which will actually drive more sales. Not more and piling it on to hopefully get some more results if something else sticks on the wall, but actually being very purposeful and intentional about the activities that we're doing, the tools that we deploy, and how our reps work together to use these things in conjunction. So this is great, right? Okay, but how do you use it? Well, it's really going to be up to you, to be honest with you. And I'm going to show you a few ways that I use it in my process, but everyone's sales process is different. And that's the one thing I've learned is, again, there's no silver bullet for this type of stuff. So you're going to have to understand what are the things that you do on a regular basis that technology could maybe do for you. So in my case, I'm on a lot of virtual meetings. I don't even want to tell you how many virtual meetings I have in a week. Sometimes it gets a little overwhelming. But one thing that's happened to me in the past is I'd have back-to-back virtual meetings, and then I'd be up until 10 at night sending follow-up emails, proposals, whatever that might be. But thanks to AI, I haven't taken notes on a virtual call in over a year, right? So I use a tool that's an AI virtual meeting assistant. It hops into my meetings. It records my entire meeting. And then you'll see it actually transcribes my meeting and gives me an AI-generated summary that's good enough to send to every attendee that's on the call. So my follow-up, instead of taking minutes or hours potentially, it now takes me the click of a button where I can click that send recording button, and now Taylor will get this AI summary and she'll be able to watch the recording. And that's great as far as my follow-up's concerned, but I want to keep track of what's actually happening on these calls. And you can see I can copy the link and I can copy the summary. And Alan, yeah, I see this is a tool called Fathom, and this is a free tool. So if you're trying to figure out where to start, this is a great place to say, hey, it's free. I don't really need to put any skin in the game. Let's just try and use this and see if it helps. But the key here is, do you see that middle button where it says sync? Well, right next to that, there's a HubSpot logo. And we've talked about HubSpot a little bit, but HubSpot is a CRM that we at Sandler use. Now, it doesn't matter if you use Salesforce or Microsoft Dynamics or whatever sales CRM that you choose for your company, or maybe you've developed your own. The key is, does it make your sales rep's job easier? Do they enjoy using it? Is it an effective tool to actually help them spend less time dealing with technology and more time selling? Because that's what we're trying to do here. So you can see if I click that sync button, I actually have it set up so all of my meetings sync automatically. The AI summary is put right into Taylor's contact card within my CRM. I don't have to do anything. And then you're also going to notice, if I can get my pointer up here, there's some different pieces in here that we've customized, right? So we just talked about disk. Well, we can put their disk type in here, and Humantic can actually connect and upload this information without us needing to put it in manually. And here at Sandler, we've been able to customize the CRM so that we can put our pain funnel in there and our no pressure prospecting call so that sales reps have everything they need at their fingertips. They don't need to go to this platform and this platform and that platform to find all of these different tools. It's all in one place. And this is really important because Gartner also says that sellers who feel overwhelmed by technology are 43% less likely to meet their quota. Now, I know if you're a sales leader out there and you've been implementing and onboarding new technology, this shouldn't be a huge surprise to you. And there's a lot of things in addition to just the core selling that sales reps have to do today, and one of them is learning new tech. So the easier we can make that for salespeople, the more efficient they're actually going to be and the more time they can spend selling. So I could have talked about a lot of things in seller role simplification, but again, I want to give you some ideas to help you wrap your head around this and conceptually help you think about how can you start to use AI or technology in some way to really make your job easier and have technology as your teammate so that you can focus on what's really important, which is selling and closing deals. Okay. Number 2, generative value messaging. What does this mean? Well, we've already talked about this a little bit today, but I'm going to take a different spin on it. So Emily talked about prospecting. She did a great job talking about prospecting and a lot of the mistakes that we see from people who prospect us. Maybe we go back and look at prospecting emails or LinkedIn messages we've sent and we cringe a little bit and say, ooh, that's Glad I don't do that anymore, right? But today we talk about personalized prospecting. And when I say personalized, that really means templated. And we know what templated prospecting emails look like. They put our name in, they put our company in, maybe they can put in how many years we've been at that company, but it's very generic. It's not an actual personal email that's tailored to us, tailored to how we communicate, tailored to how we want to be spoken to, right? So what we want to move to is personal messaging. How do we tailor our messaging to actually deliver value? And this is going to be something that's more and more important as AI and technology take off, because the potential for AI and automation to create noise is very apparent. There's going to be so much noise in email and LinkedIn inbox, all of these different things. It's just going to be messaging and messaging from every direction. So to stand out is going to be harder moving forward, not easier. But we now have tools that can help us do just that. So again, let me take you back into my process and show you how I use this. So I'm a guy that uses LinkedIn all the time. A lot of my prospects live on LinkedIn. I create all of my AI content on LinkedIn. So if you want to learn more about AI, connect with me there and you can follow my newsletter. But when I use it for prospecting or even for closing deals or working in meetings, I always pull up the other person's profile and say, okay, let me get their background. Let me figure out what they're doing, what things they're into, right? But also, thanks to Humantic AI, I can now get a brief overview of who this person is and how they like to be communicated with right on their LinkedIn, right? This is just a Chrome extension that I can click and it pops right up. So this is important because it's giving me an overview and saying, hey, this is a quick summary of Jordan. He's persuasive, he's charismatic, he's assertive, and here's how you might want to talk to him. And this is all based on DISC, right? Something that Sandler has done for a long time. So we're not changing what Sandler's done necessarily, but we're making it easier to now access this information, and these tools put this right at our fingertips. So we no longer have to make assumptions or guess. We can use this tool as a GPS or a compass, right? And I love Dave's analogy earlier of using AI as a GPS and following the directions it gives you. And I think for a lot of tools, that's a great thing. But I think for other tools like Humantic, we want to use it like a compass, where you heard Michael talking earlier. It's not 100% accurate every time. If it was, that would be a little bit terrifying, to be completely honest. But it's going to be 70, 80% accurate. And it's going to start with it's going to give us a great starting point to figure out which questions should I be asking to verify that this person is actually a DI, or how do I communicate with this person to test and see if that's actually how they like to be communicated with. Something we've done at Sandler for a long time, but now we have technology to support our sellers when they do this. And they can dive into a lot of different things, right? They can figure out, how do I want to write an email to Jordan? If I'm prospecting or qualifying Jordan, what are the different things that I want to do to build a winning connection? Or what are the things that could help or could cause me to lose the confidence of Jordan? Or when I'm negotiating and when I'm closing, what are the secrets here? So this is a great tool to break a lot of that down. Prospecting, everyone's favorite. Okay, so I'm not going to get too deep into this again today. I think if you want to figure out prospecting, you need to go and rewatch what Emily just shared and start to deploy some of those techniques and strategies, because that's what I'm going to do. And I use some of them, but she shared some great things in there that with the use of technology, you can actually maybe automate some of them or help some of those tasks pop up, or help some of those reminders for the sequences pop up, so that you're still the one creating customized content, customized messaging, and it's not just some generic automated email, but you have automation running in the background to support you as a seller, so that you don't have to remember the 52 different cold calls you need to make today and what you talked about last time, or the emails that you sent them. So the question I have for you when it comes to prospecting is, where do your prospects live? And today, there's more places to find prospects than ever before. And this actually makes our job harder as a salesperson, not easier. So we need to figure out, which channels do we need to use technology to find our prospects? Is it search or SEO? Is it social or social networks? Is it the old school techniques or tactics like phone calls or drop-ins or virtual meetings, in-person meetings? Are we trying out texting? What does that look like? Right? So you have to figure out, where do your prospects live? What's the best way to communicate and reach them? And Emily shared, sometimes it's going to take some trial and error. Try this way out. Does that work? Try this way out. Does that work? And see, what really works best, what's going to give you the best results, and what you're going for is what's going to book the most meetings, because that's the goal here at the end of the day. Okay, got to the first three. I want to spend a little bit more time here on solution design and deal closing, because I think this one is very important. And this is what all of us as sellers or as sales leaders are going for, is closing deals. The right deals, of course, but we want to be closing deals, or else we're not going to be salespeople for very long. So when it starts, or when it comes to this, I want to ask you, where does your sales data live? Does it live in Excel? Does it live in your email inbox? Does it live in half of it's in your CRM, half of it's in your prospecting tool, half of it's over there, and you have it siloed in all these different departments? That's going to make it very difficult for sales leaders to get visibility into what's actually happening. And it's going to be very difficult to get reporting on what's actually happening. So in order for AI to provide insights on your data, you need to have data for it to analyze, and it has to be located in one place. And you can connect them with different APIs or different tools or things like that, but connections break. So the question is, how do you get all this information in one place? And again, at Sandler, we use HubSpot. It doesn't matter the CRM specifically that you use. I'm not here to sell you HubSpot. I'm here to share that it's critical that you have a database that stores your contacts, that stores your companies, that stores your opportunities, and you can see everything from a 30,000-foot view, as well as dive into each specific situation. And we at Sandler use HubSpot because it's an AI-powered sales, marketing, and operations platform with a suite of connected tools. We know that if a tool connects to a CRM, it'll connect to Salesforce and it'll connect to HubSpot, which is important because we don't want our data siloed in these tools. And speaking of connected tools, we've talked a little bit today about Deal IQ, which is a tool that's been created by Octus IQ, another Sandler partner. And this is an AI-powered sales pipeline management software and deal management and forecasting tool. It's kind of a mouthful. So what does this actually mean? Well, if we dive into this tool a little bit, what we're going to see is it's connected, right? You see this logo up here in the top left. The HubSpot logo is going to, Deal IQ is going to pull this deal straight from our HubSpot, then pull the sales rep, the creation date, how long it's been open. But it's also going to add some additional context, right? So Dave Mattson talked about what are the different deal imperatives and what are the things that we want to make sure that we're understanding as we walk through a sales process and a deal that could help us win a deal. But in addition to that, what are the different stages and what are the different buyer reciprocations and seller actions that need to happen in each specific category so that sales reps can actually get the information that they need and get very granular in each stage. And this is important because you'll see this deal confidence score at the middle. That deal confidence score is a very specific score based on all of these pieces of data, where today sales leaders are looking at a pipeline and everything in one stage has the same forecasting probability, right? Because maybe qualified is forecasted at 40%, but we have 3 deals in qualified and all of them have very different probability of closing. Well, thanks to Deal IQ and tools like this, we can now get very granular and say, well, the CRM might say it's a 20% probability to close, but we've really checked a lot of these boxes off. This is at 60%. Let's start deploying resources on this one. So that's all great. But the key is that this is, again, another connected tool, right? So when we look at the different stages, these are all customized around Sandler's methodology. And on top of being customized on Sandler's methodology, we put Sandler's tools right inside of the software so that as a seller is managing or working his way through a deal, he can click on the pre-call planner and pop it up. And now Sandler's methodology is being supported right in this tool. And it's just a way that we want to connect everything to talk to everything else so that we're streamlining and, again, simplifying the role of the seller and making their life easier, not harder. Now, by focusing on these use cases, these 4 use cases that Gartner mentioned, they predict that sales leaders can help sales teams save up to 25% of their time. And you remember earlier, 28% of their time is spent selling. So are we effectively doubling how effective our sellers can be? Well, in the future, the role of the salesperson will be about doing fewer things, but doing them better. Sales leaders have to be able to combine the transformative power of AI with the uniquely human capabilities of their salespeople to drive high margin deals. And so the last question I will leave you with today is, where are you going to start?
And don't forget, you can join us live in Orlando for the Sandler Summit. We're going to be getting our best trainers and our top clients from around the world together March 19th and 20th in Orlando. Go to sandler.com/summit for more information.